Okay, hello everybody. We are in the fourth class in this series about Mashiach, and this time I want to just finish with trying to understand better what challenging and how we should react in this time right before Mashiach come, because we saw all the signs are there, and I want to show you an amazing information from the Nevi'im and from the Rambam that wrote about this time. I'll just start from quoting Yecheskel HaNavi. Navi Yecheskel, the prophet Yecheskel, in chapter 20, said in few very unclear words, at the time at least, what's going to happen at the end of days. So in chapter 20, from verse 35, he speaks about right before the Geula, before all the Jews will go back to Eretz Israel, and he says the following: והבאתי אתכם אל מדבר העמים, ונשפטתי אתכם שם פנים אל פנים, כאשר נשפטתי את אבותיכם במדבר ארץ מצרים, כן אשפט אתכם נאום השם אלוקים. Hashem says, through the Navi Yecheskel said that Hashem told him the following, that Hashem will bring us, the nation, the entire Jewish nation, to a place called Midbar Ha'amim, the desert of the nations. And over there, he will check out the people that will be there in the desert of the nations, the same way he did when he took us out of Mitzrayim. So what is the meaning of the desert of the nation? When we went out of Egypt, we went through the desert, Sinai Desert. And in Sinai Desert were many challenges. No water, no food, and was a lot of complaints, and Moshe Rabbeinu solved the complaints, but still was big things. Korach and all this argument that has with him, and the Meraglim, the spies, and here and there no food. What was Chazal says that was 10 tests that the Jews did then on Moshe and on Hashem. In one of them, the spies, Chet HaMeraglim, was a big consequence to it. We delayed our coming to the land of Israel by 40 years. We were in the desert. The purpose of staying in the desert for 40 years, the reason was terrible. The reason was, you do not believe in going to the promised land? Okay, you will not. You will stay here. Your children will go. That was the story then. Says the Navi Yecheskel. Same thing gonna happen right before the Geula that will bring us finally to the land of Israel forever. The Geula at the end of days. So he said over here that Hashem will repeat the same thing. He will bring us to the desert of the nations. And over there we will check us out if we deserve for the redemption, yes or not. The desert of the nations are the exile. We are all over the world for many years, and this place called, for us, a desert. Desert is just the opposite of home. Home is Eretz Israel. When we are in exile, we are not in home. Not in home, we are in exile. But it's not just an exile, it's not just a desert. It's a desert of the nations. And Hashem said that right before the Geula, He will judge us there in the desert of the nations. And look what He said next. והעברתי אתכם תחת השבט, והבאתי אתכם במסורת הברית, ובראתי מכם המורדים והפושעים בי. It's like a shepherd who counts what he has, so he put them under a stick to count them. ועברתי אתכם תחת השבט, והבאתי אתכם במסורת הברית, and I will test you about the covenant that we had together, me and you, Hashem and the nation. And he said, ובראתי מכם המורדים והפושעים בי. I will eliminate from you those who are rebels against me, or posh'im bi, meaning doing things against, same way Hashem promised us the land of Israel. At the time, people do not want to go. They thought it's scary, it's threatening. Posh'im bi, those who are not going to be trusting Hashem. So he said that you're going to repeat this. And basically, this is one of the places in the Nevuah, in the Tanakh, in the Bible, by the time that the many prophets describe as Chevlei Mashiach. The time, the era right before Mashiach will come, will be very hard time, challenging. Not physically necessarily, but challenging. And the purpose of it is to test who deserve to be redeemed and who not. I want to show you an amazing words of the Rambam, Maimonides, in a very special letter known as Igeret Teiman. Let me give you some background about this. Igeret Teiman is a scroll of Yemen, scroll of Teiman. Rambam at the time, about 900 something years ago, was known in the entire Jewish world as one of the scholars, one of the Gedolei Ador. And it was an event that not too many people know about. But we spoke, I think, in the last few shiurim about the false messiahs that we have during the history. The well-known are Shabtai Tzvi and Oto Aish, Jesus, but were more than one or two. Actually, in every generation there is a cuckoo guy that claimed that he is Mashiach. So something like this happened in Yemen. The Jews that were in the small community, isolated community in Yemen. One crazy Jew decided that he is Mashiach, and actually he was a person with abilities and with a little charisma, and many Jews thought, okay, the Geula time come, and this is the Mashiach, and he announced this, and he announced this in a way that even the Goyim around, the Arabs over there in Yemen, heard about this, that the Jews think that they have someone who's going to be the king of the world. That caused, of course, a lot of problems, because Jews are not popular anyways. But when they try to claim that they're going to rule soon the world, that caused a big dangers. So the Goyim over there, the Arabs, start to make more troubles to the Jews than usual. But many Jews were going under this idea, around this. So the Rav of the community over there sent a letter to the Rambam, to Maimonides, the Rambam, to ask him what to do. And he said, because of the decrees of the Goyim, many Jews left Judaism. They become Muslims. And he asked him, I want you to give me some clarity about how to relate to this situation. I'm talking again about the Rav of the community of the Jews in Yemen to the Rambam. The Rambam sent to him a whole letter called Igeret Teiman, and the Rambam relates in this Igeret Teiman to the concept very thoroughly, the concept of Geula and Mashiach, and he gave him some advices what to do. It's a long thing. I will read few lines from the Rambam. So the Rambam told him then, 900 years ago, the following. He said, "Al ha'et hakasha hazot," it's in Hebrew. I tried to find the translation to English. Probably if I were working harder, I will find something, but I didn't have the time, so I'm sorry. I'll try to translate. "Al ha'et hakasha hazot שראה הנביא במחזה," is quoting here the prophet Amos. And he give a pasuk from Amos Perek Zayin, pasuk A, that Amos speaks to Hashem. The prophet Amos davened to Hashem, prayed to Hashem, and he said to him, "Va'omar Hashem Elokim chadalna." Hashem, please, let go. It's too much, the pressure on the Jewish nation. Mi yakum Yaakov ki katanu. If those challenges or those nisyonos, those tests that you're doing on us will continue, maybe we'll never be able to raise up. So that was a davening for Amos when he saw what's going on in the end of days. And Amos said to Hashem, I feel it's too much. Please, let it a little bit be lighter, because it's too much. They're going to collapse. They're not going to raise out of this. Says the Rambam on this quote from Amos, "ודבר זה לא יהרהר בו בעל אמונה, ולא ישליחהו מי שיש לו במשה אמונה, ואין ספק להיות אלו חבלי משיח." It's too extreme for a prophet to say that, but the Navi said that, the prophet said that because he saw how tough it's going to be right before the redemption. And he said, the Rambam said, even if we look in the Gemara, we will find out that not just the prophets, but the Tanaim and Amoraim, the scholars of the Gemara of the Mishnah, said, and it's mentioned in Masechet Sanhedrin in many places, yeah, we want Mashiach, we want to be at the time of the Geula, but actually, I don't want to be there. It will be too much, even for me. Who's speaking? The prophets. The great scholar, the great Tanaim and Amoraim. They say, we prefer, if it's up to us, not to live in this generation. Because it will be too hard. It's very hard. So, continue the Rambam and says, I could see what they talk about when I hear the news from your community. But you have to know. Okay, let's see. אבל מה שאמרת, he's speaking now to the Rav of the community in Yemen. And he said, מה שאמרת, what did you say? שדעת קצת בני עמנו נעדרה ונתבלבלה. Some of the Jews in your community got confused, ונעה לבבם והתחדש להם ספק ונתעלפה סברתם. So they said, you know what, it's too much for us, we're leaving, we do not want to be Jews anymore. They convert to Islam. Some of them. And some of them were strong in their אמונה, וקצת לא סרו מאמונתם, ולא נתעלפו, ולא חרדו על זה. They stick to Judaism and they become even stronger. Said Rambam, when you give me this information, I'm telling you, actually there are words of the prophets that say that exactly what's going to happen. And he bring here information or quote from Daniel, from Sefer Daniel. דבר זה, says the Rambam, כבר קדם על ידי דניאל עליו השלום, כמו שהודיענו הבורא. כי בהאריך לנו הימים בגלותנו, when the exile gonna be long and long, ובבוא הצרות עלינו, and when many hard time will go over us, יצאו רבים מן הדעת, ויתחדש להם ספק ויטעו. Those are the words of the Rambam. Many Jews will leave the Judaism. יצאו רבים מן הדת, ויתחדש להם ספק ויטעו. They will start to ask, who said that it's all true? All the things that we got from our parents, who said that it's all true? Who said that the story is true? The Rambam said that 900 years ago. And he said that Daniel actually, and you're going to show us soon where Daniel said that it's part of the challenge, it's part of these tests for right before the Geula, that many Jews, because it's too long and it's too hard, will decide that it's not good for them to be Jewish. And they will leave with question who said that it's true. But some of them will not. And says the Rambam, וסיבה זאת תהיה בראותם דלדולנו ותוקף יד מוננו והתגברותם עלינו. They will see that the Jews are not in power, no one really count them, and the Goyim and they are in power, so they will say, what's the point to stay Jewish? וקצתם לא יתחדש להם ספק ולא תתבלבל ספרתם. But some of them will stay strong and will have no doubt that Judaism is true. And now he will quote few psukim in Daniel. One of them is in Sefer Daniel פרק י"ב, the last chapter of Daniel, פסוק י', שנאמר, יתבררו ויתלבנו ויצרפו רבים וירשיעו רשעים ולא יבינו כל רשעים והמשכילים יבינו. Be aware of this verse. It's very, very amazing what's written over here. I'll try to translate it. Yitbareru, that's from Daniel. Daniel chapter 12, verse 10. Yitbareru veyitlabnu veyitzarfu rabim. All the events that gonna happen, the purpose of them is to clarify. Yitlabnu, it's like when you take a laundry and put it in the laundry in the washing machine and make it white. Take away all the stains, right? That's called veyitlabnu. Yitbareru is berur. Berur is to check out. When you have, let's say, rice, that you want to check it out if there are something that not belong that's there. That's called borer, livror, like melechet borer in Shabbat. Yitbareru veyitlabnu veyitzarfu rabim. What's veyitzarfu? Jeweler, he take the raw material that they that come from the ground, a gold, but it's with dirt. So you have to make it clear. How do you make it clear? You put it in a big oven, or a big oven with a very high heat that only the clear gold will go through, and the rest that not belong either will be burned or pushed aside. That's called litzrof. Therefore, a jeweler in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, called tzoref. Tzoref. So that's what Daniel said. That's what's going to happen. Hashem will test the Jews at the end of days to see who of them will be deserved to be redeemed. And he said, והרשיעו רשעים ולא יבינו כל רשעים, will be Jews that will not stand on these tests and will choose the easy way. Just run away from it. I don't want to be Jewish. ולא יבינו כל רשעים. והמשכילים יבינו. And the one who are smarter and has this strong emunah, they will stay. They will stay. So Rambam says, we know it. Hashem told us that's what's going to happen at the end of days in this verse and in other verses in Daniel. So he said to this Rav in the community in Yemen, what do you describe is exactly this. And you have to know, this is one of the things that was promised to happen in order to check out who is strong and who is not. And this is one of the challenges. Yet, he didn't give him advice what to do, but he told him, what did you describe to me is exactly what the prophet says. Now he continued. Look at the continuation. והוסיף לבאר לנו. He speaks about Daniel. Daniel added to this. What did he add? שאפילו המשכילים ההמה והמבינים שעברו עליהם צרות ועמדו כנגדם ונשארו באמונתם בהשם ובמשה עבדו, עדיין יעברו עליהם צרות קשות ורעות יותר מן הראשונות שעמדו כנגדם, עד שיתחדש להם ספק ויטעו ויטעו. Meaning, he said it's going to be in waves. The first wave will be big troubles. That will be a real challenge for the Jews. We stick in our emunah, in the Torah and in Hashem, yes or not? So some of them will go out. The other one, the stronger, will stay. Then will come a second wave with bigger challengers. And even those who pass the first wave and stay strong, the second wave will be a challenge from them. And some of them, in the second challenge, the second wave, they will not stay in. עד שלא יתבאר להם כי מעט מזער. The one who will pass all those rounds of test will not be too many. כמו שאמר, and here he quotes Daniel in chapter 11, verse 35, ומן המשכילים ייכשלו. מן המשכילים mean from the good ones that passed successfully the first wave, in the next waves it will not be hard for them, and some of them will fall. לצרוף בהם ולברר וללבן עד עת קץ. So far what the Rambam says will be big nisyonot, will be big challenges. And the big challenges, the purpose of them to check out who is strong. And now, after he described the situation, he gives the advice. The advice of the Rambam. He said, ועתה אחינו, and now my brothers, חייבים אתם להטות אוזניכם ולשמוע מה שאסדר לפניכם. ותלמדוהו לטף, to the children and to the ladies, the ones who are not, was like today, so knowledgeable in Torah. So teach everyone, even the one who usually do not go to this, to learn the depth of Judaism. כדי שיתקיים להם מה שיסתפק מאמונתם. You have to teach them the depth of Judaism to make them strong. ויתחזק בנפשותם האמת שאין לזוז ממנה. And we have the truth, the Torah is Torat Emet, and we have to be strong learning the Torah and be convinced that the Torah is truth. ויצילנו הבורא ויצילכם מן הספק. And Hashem will help us and save us from the doubts. Because the doubts is the challenge of the end of days. By the way, just by the way, this coming Shabbos is Shabbat Parashat Zachor. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, right? In the Sforim it's mentioned that Amalek, the number of the letters, comes to 240. Amalek. Ayin is 70, Mem is 40, so it's 110. Lamed is 30, 140, and the Kuf, it's 240. Says in the Sforim that the word Safek, doubt in Hebrew, Safek, three letters, Samech Pei Kuf, comes to 240. Safek. Samech is 60, Pei is 80, 140, and Kuf, another 100, 240. So Amalek and Safek, and it's not just, by chance, because what Amalek wants to do when he attack the Jews right after the split of Yam Suf is to make Safek. It's clear, right? Hashem did this. How could it be that all the Egyptians drowned and the Jews were saved? And then right away came Amalek and said, don't get excited too much. Let me explain it in other ways. So that's a Safek. So the safek is the problem. We have to be sure. Anyone who has doubts at the time of challenge will use it as an excuse to run away. So Rambam said, because it's true, it's our obligation to make everyone to know the truth. And that's what he offered them to do. Now, the Rambam continues, and the next things that he said are really unbelievable. Look at this. וכבר הבטיחנו הבורא יתברך. Says the Rambam, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem himself, promised us, כאדם הנכנס ערב לחברו, like someone who are willing to sign for his friend loan. He signed, if he said to the lender, if he will not return the money to you, come to me, I will return it to you. So Rambam says that Hashem is our co-signer, or the one who take on himself, and he promised us. What did he promise us? When Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, we read it in Parashat Yitro 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu the following, before the revelation at Sinai. Hashem says to him, ויאמר השם אל משה, הנה אנוכי בא אליך באב הענן, בעבור ישמע העם בדברי עמך, וגם בך יאמינו לעולם. So Hashem explained before Ma'amad Har Sinai, why Hashem do this? Revealed himself to the nation, and it was a one-time event in the history that Hashem was appearing in the front of the entire nation. So Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu before, and he told him, you know why I'm doing this? Because I want the nation of Israel, to hear that I'm speaking to you in their own eyes and own ears. It will not be like all the false people who came, God talked to me, it was in the middle of the night, no one saw it. I want them to know that you are my messenger because they saw it in their own eyes, not because they believe you. So Hashem said that. Why I'm doing this? בעבור ישמע העם בדברי עמך, the nation will hear that I'm talking to you, וגם בך יאמינו לעולם. They will have faith, trust in you forever. Be aware of this word, forever. Says the Rambam, here Hashem promised us that the people that were there at the time of the revelation at Sinai and heard and saw the 10 commandments, and they saw Hashem talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, they will have trust in Moshe Rabbeinu forever. What's forever? Not just them. All their children and children and children to the end of days. Forever. Says the Rambam. Hodianu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem inform us, שכל מי שעמד על הר סיני, anyone that were there at the event, any Jew that were there on the revelation at Sinai, שהם מאמינים בנבואת משה רבנו ובכל מה שבא על ידו, they were trust in Moshe Rabbeinu in everything that he did, הם ובניהם ובני בניהם עד עולם. Them, their children, and their children forever. שכן אמר רק השם יתברך, and he is quoting this verse, הנה אנוכי בא אליך באב וענן, בעבור ישמע העם בדברי עמך, וגם בך יאמינו לעולם. Now, listen carefully to what he's saying in the next few lines. This is amazing. לפי כך, says Rambam, therefore, לפי כך, יש לדעת, you have to know, שכל מי שנטע מדרך הדת, הנתונה במעמד ההוא, that during the history, anyone, any Jew, that will go out and leave Judaism claiming that he's not believing in Moshe Rabbeinu or in Hashem, you have to know that כל מי שנטע מדרך הדת, anyone who left this religion, הנתונה במעמד ההוא, that Hashem gave us, the Torah that Hashem gave us in this revelation, she'eino mizera ha'anashim ha'hem. He is not part of the Jewish nation in the first place. What? But let me explain this. But first, let's see what he say. He say, any Jew during the history, since then, 3,300 years ago, to the end of days, forever, any Jew that was born Jewish, raised Jewish, and a certain point in his life or her life left Judaism, claiming that they do not believe, anyone like this, he is not Jewish. He is not from the seeds of those people. Because if he was from the seeds of those people, Hashem promised that anyone that were there, Ya'aminu, they will believe in Hashem and in the Torah forever. You agree with me that this is an amazing statement? What? How many people we know that left Judaism? So what do you mean they are not from the seeds of the people who were there at Sinai? But the Rambam said that. And it's very, very difficult to understand. And the logic. I'll tell you why. I'll ask the question that probably it's in your mind. We know, you know what, I know, but I believe each one of you know. I know people that was born and raised in very, very strong Jewish families. Their father, the grandfather were Talmidei Chachamim, Gdoilei Israel. Last generation, few generations ago, and they were born to a family with many siblings. Some of them stayed very strong, but some of them left completely, leave everything, claim that they do not believe in anything, that become atheists in the good case, or even convert to different religion. But some of them said clearly, we do not believe in anything. And they continue with this to the end of their life. They didn't do tshuva a year or two or a day before they passed away. They passed away denying anything. So what do you mean they are not from the seeds of the... their parents for sure were Jewish, not just Jewish. Was those who are the tradition from generation to generations. It's not one case, two cases, three cases. There are unfortunately many, many Jews who left. So how could it be? How it works with the words of what the Rambam says? The Rambam is not wrong. We have to explain this. That's what I will try to do, and this is very deep. I will skip now and go to the Ramban. The Ramban is Nachmanides, okay? Usually they have some about different things. They have arguments, Rambam and Ramban. He look at it this way, he look at it this way. But I want to show you that the Ramban agree with the Rambam about this. Where we find it? In very completely different place. If we'll go to the Torah, let me just look for this information. Where is it? Okay, here it is. If we go to the Torah, we go to Parashat Dvarim. To Sefer Dvarim. To Parashat Nitzavim. In Parashat Nitzavim, Moshe Rabbeinu rebuked the Jewish people right before he passed away. That's one of the last parashiot in the Torah. Nitzavim, Vayelech Ha'azinu, Vezot HaBracha. The end of Sefer Dvarim. And after the Toichecha, that was in the parasha before, Parashat Ki Tavo, he says, אתם ניצבים היום כולכם לפני השם אלוקיכם, ראשיכם, שבטיכם, זקניכם ושוטריכם וכולי. Okay? And among the things he said like this, and I'm quoting from Sefer Dvarim, Deuteronomy 29, chapter 29, Pasuk Yud Zayin, verse 17. Let's see first the Pasuk. What's the Pasuk say? Pen yesh bachem. Moshe Rabbeinu talked to the Jewish nation at the time right before they entered to the land of Israel by Yoshua bin Nun, and he says the following: Pen yesh bachem, ish o isha, o mishpacha o shevet, asher levavo poneh hayom me'im Hashem Elokeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm afraid that maybe you have among you a man or a lady or a family or a tribe that his heart poneh hayom me'im Hashem Elokeinu, turn away from Hashem, ללכת לעבוד את אלוהי הגויים ההם, and he wants to go leave the Torah, leave Hashem, and go to idol worship. ללכת לעבוד את אלוהי הגויים ההם. פן יש בכם שורש פורה ראש ולענה. Maybe you have in you a root, פורה ראש ולענה. Root meaning when you plant a plant in the ground, so if the root is good, the fruits will be okay, will be good. But if you have a sweet root and you put it in, and out of it comes something sour or bitter, that could be. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm really afraid that maybe, therefore I'm so strong on you, and so hard on you, because I want to warn you, don't play games with Hashem. Maybe you have someone like this that's not following. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Says the Ramban. And those, again, those amazing words, similar to what the Rambam says in Igeret Teiman. He said that in completely different place, but look what he said, the Ramban, Nachmanides. ואמר, פן יש בכם שורש פורה ראש ולענה. Says the Ramban, לרמוז כי משורש מתוק לא יצא מר. He's hinting over here the logic. From a sweet root will never come bitter fruit. Never. Cannot be. וכל אשר לבבו שלם עם השם הנכבד, anyone that is heart complete with Hashem, ולא הרהר כלל בעבודה זרה, and he never thought, nothing, never crossed his mind to worship idols, לא יוליד מודה בה. It could not be that the children of such a person will be denying Hashem and go after idols. He said, same way, you could not put in the ground sweet root and something not sweet will come out of it. Cannot be. Therefore, I'm telling you, if someone was complete with Hashem at the time of the generation of Kabbalat Torah, could not be that the fruit that comes out of him, meaning the descendants of him, will not be the same. Can't be. Says the Ramban, ve'al takshe alai bazeh. Don't ask a question on me. And what the question? So we saw so many people during the history that was just the opposite from their parents. And what are you talking about? What do you say? If the parents are good, the children should be good also? It's not right. The reality is not like this. But he's not asking from the reality. He's asking even stronger question. He said, ve'al takshe alai bazeh min hakatuv b'Yechezkel. Says the Ramban, but you could ask, but the prophet Yechezkel said that such a thing could happen. And he quoted in Yechezkel, in chapter 18 in Yechezkel clearly speak about a tzaddik, a person that was a real tzaddik, a real good, veholid ben paritz, and his son was a wicked. So says Ramban, that alone is against what I said. If a prophet said that such a thing is possible, how could I say that it's not possible? So he's not asking from the reality. You're asking even stronger. The prophet, meaning Hashem said, the prophet said, meaning Hashem said, that such a thing could happen. Says the Ramban, don't ask on me from Yechezkel. Why? Why don't ask? Ki emet hadavar. Because it's true. What I claimed is true. Never ever could be that from a tzaddik will come children that are not tzaddikim. This is the truth. But still he didn't answer. But Yechezkel said different. Look what he said. Says the Ramban. Vesod gadol lo uchal lefaresh bo. There is a secret, big secret here, and I could not explain further than what I said. I'm just telling you, this is the truth. From a sweet root will never come not sweet fruit. Don't ask for me from the prophet, Yechezkel. I could not explain to you why. Because it's a secret. And I'm not allowed to reveal it. That's what the Ramban says. So both Rambam and Ramban agreed that anyone that was complete with Hashem at Har Sinai and heard Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai, all the people that were there, there is a promise that them and their children and their children, to the end of days, will always believe in Hashem and in the Torah. And the Rambam says even strong that if you find a Jew that during the history left Judaism and claimed that he's not believing, not in the Torah, not in Hashem, or in one of them, he is not from those people who were there because Hashem promised. We still do not understand. Even though the Ramban agree with this, we still do not understand both of them, not the Rambam and not the Ramban, because we see in the history, especially in the last few generations, how many Jews that came from a very good, solid families of Gedolei Israel that left. And what is the meaning that they are not from the seeds of these people? So the Rambam is not explaining. The Ramban aware of a problem, but he says something very mysterious. What I claim is true. I could not explain to you because it's a secret. What is the secret? And the question is, if the Ramban said that there is an explanation, it's a secret. Let's say I know the secret. Let's say. I could not tell you also because the same way, the Ramban say, I know the answer, but I'm not allowed to say it. So, what are we going from here? It was few developments since the Ramban said this until today, and that will give us an access to understand the solution to this mystery. I want to quote to you words of one of the Mefarshim of the Torah that lives 500 years ago. Ramban and Rambam, we're talking about 800, 850 the Ramban, 900, 9 something the Rambam. So we're talking about approximately 400 years after them. At the time of the Ari HaKadosh, Rabbeinu Yosef Karo, at the time of the sages of Tzfat. One of the big scholars at the time called, because of his book, the Shach, Siftei Kohen. Siftei Kohen, the lips of the Kohen. That's the translate of the word, of the name of the book that he gave to the book. Siftei Kohen. And he was a Kohen. And he was a great Mikubal 500 years ago. And he's relating to this Ramban. He brings the entire Ramban. What the Ramban said, that from a sweet root will never come something bitter. He quoted the question that the Rambam has on himself from Yechezkel, that he said that a tzaddik could have a son that is a wicked. And he quoted the Ramban that said, it's true, it's a secret, I could not go further to explain it. Look what the Shach says. The Siftei Kohen, on Devarim, on this pasuk in Parashat Nitzavim, says the following, וכתב הרב רקנתי זיכרונו לברכה. פירש הרב הגדול, כי משורש מתוק לא יצא מר. So I hope you will not get too complicated here. The Shach quoting Rabbeinu Menachem Rekanati, which was another big Mekubal, Rekanati, Arav Menachem Rekanati. So the Shach quoting him, that he is quoting the Ramban, פירש הרב הגדול, meaning the Ramban, כי משורש מתוק לא יצא מר, וכל אשר לבבו שלם עם השם הנכבד, ולא ערער בעבודה זרה, anyone that was complete, his heart was complete with Hashem, לא יוליד בן מודה בה, could not be that you have a child that not believe in Hashem. ואל תקשה עליי מזה הכתוב והוליד בן פריץ, כי אמת הדבר. That quote from the Ramban. Because it's true, וסוד גדול לא אוכל לפרש, עד כאן דבריו זיכרונו לברכה. So that the Rekanati quoting. And the Rekanati says, on the words of the Ramban, ואני שמעתי ולא אבין. I heard what the Ramban said, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it's possible. Now comes the Siftei Kohen and says the following, ואולי, כי כוונת הרב זיכרונו לברכה היא, the possibility to understand what the Ramban says, he tried to explain the Ramban, look. כי אין נקרא בניו אלא החדשים, והצדיק לא הוליד בן חדש, רק אם יהיה צדיק כמוהו. In order to understand this, I have to give you something from the Kabbalah. There is something that mentioned in the Zohar, actually in last week's parasha. Not just there, but over there, the Zohar dedicate a lot of information about this. Something called Sod HaGilgul. Sod HaGilgul meaning the secret of reincarnation. Now listen carefully in order to put together everything. There is such a thing that the neshama of a person that was here in the world, after 120 go upstairs, and the upstairs court judge this neshama and what this neshama did with the body during the time that they lived in this world, and got to the conclusion that the best way to fix things that went wrong with the choices of this person is to send him back to this world in a different body. And this is the thing called reincarnation. So again, in the secret part of the Torah, there is such a thing. It's not something that came from India, from the other cultures. We also, Hashem told us this in Ma'amad Har Sinai, in the secret part of the Torah, that there is such a thing. There are many rules. They are completely different from all the things that you ever heard, if you ever heard about reincarnation that comes from India and from the Far East. Completely different, but there is such a thing. So, based on this, he said the following. What the Ramban says, that good parents, good root, will never have come out of it a bitter fruit, speaks only about new souls that never were in the world before. But it could happen that for certain parents, they have different children. The parents contribute the body, the flesh and blood, the body. The neshama comes from Hashem. Now, if it is a new neshama that never was in the world, when this neshama will be put in the name in the body of the fetus, this baby, it will be same like the parents. And about this said the Ramban, that it could not be that good tzaddikim parents will have a child that not a tzaddik like them. In the cases that there is such a thing, the neshama of this baby is not new. It's reincarnated. And that could make the possibility that he will not be tzaddik like his biological parents. They are by his biological parents, but they are the parents of his body, not of his soul. And this is the solution. Look at this again. כוונת הרב, זיכרונו לברכה, כי אין נקרא בניו של אדם, the children of a person, אלא החדשים, meaning new souls. והצדיק לא הוליד בן חדש, רק אם יהיה צדיק מותו. And in this case, the children will be good like the parents. ואם תמצא שהוא פריץ ושופך דם, if you'll find out that the child is wicked and murderer or just wicked, is not the same like the parents, הוא בן הפריץ שזה הצדיק הולידו. It's true that biologically he is the son of these parents. But לא היה זה הצדיק אביו הראשון. It's not his first parent because he was in the world before in different body, and this particular current parent is not his first parent. In this lifetime he is his parent, but his neshama was here before. והראיה, and the proof that such a thing is true, שלא נקרא זרע רק הצדיק, that a real child is only if the parents are tzaddik, then the children will be tzaddik. The proof for this is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was a tzaddik? Yes, right? But he has Yishmael also. He was his son, biological son. But Hashem told him, to Avraham, שנאמר כי ביצחק יקרא לך זרע. Yitzchak, consider your seed. כי ביצחק יקרא לך זרע. What about Ishmael? What about בני קטורה? ואמרו חז"ל, ביצחק ולא בישמעאל. So even though Ishmael is biologically is the son of Abraham, but he is not considered his seed. ואמרו חז"ל, ביצחק ולא בישמעאל, ביצחק ולא כל יצחק. רק ביעקב ולא בעשיו, ביצחק. Even in Yitzchak, not all of Yitzchak, because Yitzchak has two sons, twins. But the promise is to Yaakov, not to Esau. Ad kan. Those are the words of the Shach. Zeu siyua lidvarenu. This is a proof to our claim that this is the meaning of this. So according to this, it's amazing what actually is said over here. Hashem promised, and let's go back now to what the Rambam says in Igeret Eiman. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, anyone who is here will believe in you, in the Torah, in you and Moshe Rabbeinu, in the Torah, in Hashem, forever. There and their children and their children's children. Says the Rambam, Maimonides, if you find anyone during the history that left Judaism, not temporarily or for a few years, completely left Judaism and lived the rest of his life as against everything, against the Torah, against the Jewish nation, against the Jewish philosophy, and died like this, he is not one of the descendants. Eino mizera anashim haem. He is not from the seeds of this people. The explanation is, if there is a reincarnation, and this is very complicated, and I have no time to explain this now, but we have to know, when people come to this world, when the neshama, the souls, come to this world for reincarnation, it's for a reason. What is the reason? To give them a chance to fix what they did wrong. But because they have a background, it's harder for them. But this is their challenge in this world. So they could be good. But if they choose in the second lifetime to continue and do what's not right, that comes among the other reasons from their tough background, that because of it they came to this world. So the promise was for new souls, any new souls that come from these parents, this father and this mother, if the mother and the father are good, this child will be good. So this way you could understood that families, that the parents are good, and some of their children are good and the other not. This is the way to explain this. That's what the Shach says 400 years ago. About 80 years ago, about 80, 100 years ago, the Satmar Rebbe, that was a great, great Talmid Chacham, quoting this, and he adds something, and with this we will finish over here. I'm quoting from the Divrei Yoel, Rabbi Yoel Tazerbaum from Satmar, and with this we will conclude this. He quotes the Rekanati and the Shach, and he says the following: והרקנתי והשח על התורה גילו סודו. They reveal the secret that the Ramban said I'm not allowed to reveal. By the way, how they reveal when the Ramban said I'm not allowed to? So that's a big thing, that when the exile goes on and on and on, things allowed to be revealed when earlier in the history was not the time to reveal it. And there are reasons for this, I'm not going to go to this. But the Ari HaKadosh revealed a lot of things that was hidden before him. And then the Ramchal revealed even more. So here's the Divrei Yoel says the following. The Divrei Yoel is in Parashat Vayishlach, in Sefer Bereshit. והרקנתי והשח על התורה גילו סודו שהוא סוד הגלגול. They revealed the secret, which is the secret of reincarnation. רוצה לומר, meaning, שבגלגולים הקודמים שורש נשמותיהם ואבותיהם מערב רב. And here he mentioned, or he put another notion that it's a whole thing to explain, ערב רב. ערב רב meaning the Jews that came out of Egypt with the Yidden that went out of Egypt, וגם ערב רב עלה איתם. And was there, but they didn't really accept the Torah in מעמד הר סיני, the ערב רב. ומשם נמשך בחינת נפש רעה אליו להיות מודה בעבודה זרה חס ושלום. From there, because even then they didn't believe completely in Hashem, the ערב רב. ועל דרך זה התבאר גם כן בדברי הרמב"ם. And based on this, because the Rekanati and the Shach do not relate to the Rambam, they relate to the Ramban. But the Divrei Yoel says, על דרך זה, in the same way, יתבאר גם כן דברי הרמב"ם זיכרונו לברכה באיגרת תימן, what the Rambam wrote in the letter to Teiman, שכל מי שנטע מדרך הדת הנתונה במעמד הר סיני, that anyone who went away from the Torah that was given in Sinai, שאינו מזרע האנשים ההם, אף על פי שלפי הראות הוא מזרע האנשים כשרים ומיוחסים, even though when you see, he came from a very good family of good, kosher and מיוחס people. אבל שורש נשמותיהם מערב רב. ואלו הם אבותיו בגלגול הקודם. That was their parents in the former lifetime. והם הערב רב המעורבים בישראל שהזכירו בזוהר הקדוש. And he said there are proofs to this from different places in the Zohar. Okay, the bottom line is the following. Right before the Geula, we didn't cover too much, but let me summarize what we covered today. We started from the words of the Navi Yecheskel. And the Navi Yecheskel said that right before the Geula, Hashem will, before he will take all of us to Eretz Israel, he will do the same thing. It will be a repetition of what happened in the first Geula. When we went out to Mitzrayim, First of all, not everyone went out of Mitzrayim. Only 1 out of 5 Jews went out of Mitzrayim. Even after the entire generation that believed to the spies and refused to go to the Eretz Israel when Hashem said that, they died in the desert. Says the Navi Yechezkel, same thing gonna happen at the end of days. Not every Jew will be deserved to be redeemed. The way Hashem will do it is by giving us a lot of challenges. And it will be in Midbar Ha'amim. When we will be in the desert, and I explained, desert is just the opposite of home. When we are not home, our home is the land of Israel. When we are in exile, we are in the desert, even though we are in very populated cities, but it's not our place. For us, it's a desert. And in this desert, there are a lot of challenges, a lot of tests. Those tests are to check out who deserves to be redeemed and who is not. So, if we summarize it, it's hard to summarize in the middle or actually in the beginning, but that's what we have to do. If we summarize it, should we relate to what's going on? Everything that's happening is a test from Hashem to us how strong we are, how we stick to the truth, how we verify the truth. And remember that the advice of the Rambam. The advice to the Rambam in Igeret Iman is, take everyone that you could and teach them and make them stick to the Torah, because the Torah is the truth. And that's the way for us to save ourselves and everyone that our loved one, any Jew that will be willing to hear. Many Jews who do not keep, they are not wicked, they just ignorance, they do not know. And some of them, I could tell you from experience, when you reveal to them the real truth of the Torah, some of them, their soul just got lit and then they come back and they keep everything. So this is the mission of this generation. We are in a big, big test. If we really believe in Hashem and the Torah, and it's not just a belief, no base for this belief. This is the truth and there are ways to prove it. So what we have to do is to prove it to ourselves, learn and ask all the questions that are relevant, verify them, there are answers to all the questions. And bring everyone who is willing to hear, to listen, because we cannot force anyone. But anyone who will be willing to listen, and there sometimes you could think about creative ways how to make people curious to listen and teach them and make them reconnected. Because we are right before the Geula. And those are the challenges that we're facing. And that's the way that we should deal with what's going on. And I hope, that the shiurim that you hear in the great place called Jewish Renaissance Center in Manhattan, and the series that we just finished over here about we touch a little bit about the information about what's going to happen at the end of days. I hope those words and this information will make us strong and make us deserve for the redemption that will come b'mehera b'yameinu. Amen. Okay, so that's the shiur for today. Thank you for listening. Just 1 minute. If anyone...
Rabbi,